This video, I'm just talking about the reasons to never be a doomer. And if you don't know what a doomer is, essentially you lose all hope for the future. You think nothing's ever going to happen, nothing's ever going to change. What's the point in even living slash trying? Because things, nothing's ever going to happen, right? Essentially, that's the doomer mentality. Never be a doomer. There's many examples, not only in history, but even in today's times, for you not to be a doomer. Let's use one from history, right? One of my favorite. Spain's Reconquista. For over, what was it? Over 800 years, they were basically under Muslim rule. 800 years. 3 times as long as we've been a nation. And they were under Muslim rule. And what happened? They didn't give up. They resisted. And then they pushed the then they pushed the Muslims out of their country, right? And by pushed, I mean unalive them, right? So, and they took back Spain, right? And now Spain today, Spain today, again, they're having another problem because clearly they didn't learn from history that you're not supposed to let them into your country, even under the pretense of, oh, we're just peaceful, hey, we worship different gods, but that doesn't mean we can't get along. You just never let them into your country. It's ridiculous. I don't know why Spain didn't learn their lesson, but now they're having the same issues again. Anyways, so right, but that's from the past, right? You could say, oh, well, that was back when people actually did things. Nowadays, nothing ever happened. And there's many modern examples. I mean, look at Nepal, right? That was a revolution led by who? Primarily Gen Z. Why? Well, to be fair, they had nothing else to do. A lot of young people couldn't get jobs, right? Kind of like America. And then the government did the most irresponsible thing they could have done, honestly. They turned off a lot of internet apps. Essentially, they turned off the internet, for just better saying. And well, that left with young people nothing to do, right? They couldn't doom scroll. They couldn't complain about their problems on the internet. So they actually had to go outside and do something. And what happened? They overthrew their government. And I think like 2 days. And you know how they elected their new representative? On fucking Discord. Bro, they're such chuds, bro. They elected their new representative on Discord. It was ridiculous, bro. Like, what do you mean you had an election on Discord? But the military accepted it, and yeah, now but they revolted. And there's been a bunch of other Gen Z led protests and other things of the sort. So for you to be a doomer and say like, oh, nothing ever happens, it's like, bro, things are always happening. You're just always looking at the negative, right? And if you're saying this because of the Epstein files, right? Oh, we're not angry enough. Why didn't we do anything for the Epstein files? It's like, bro, you have to understand there needs to be leaders in the movement to organize the anger. I mean, just look at the feds, right? The feds, and in particular the Jews, they used controlled chaos. Chaos where they know the outcome of the situation, or at least a general sense of it. So that allows them to use chaos to their advantage. But even they know uncontrolled chaos isn't beneficial because it's just chaos, right? Same thing with anger. The reason uncontrolled anger isn't really a threat to the systems at B is because it's uncontrolled, it's unorganized. Who fucking like if you have a bunch of angry people, who cares? You're angry, and what are you gonna do about it? You're all alone, right? The whole divide and conquer. You're all alone. You have no one backing you. You think, or at least you think you're alone. So, right, this whole anger that you feel for the files and everything else, right? It's not that you're not angry enough. It's that there's not someone guiding your anger into like a spearhead to actually become a threat. That's why, nothing ever happens in that regard. There needs to be leaders to lead the revolution, slash, at least organizers to organize the people. If there's not going to be a necessary leader, there still has to be organizations of the anger that the American people feel. Without it, again, it's who cares? So I mean, like, look at Albania, right? A very very recent example. If you don't want to consider Nepal, right? Because all they had theirs was I think a few years ago now, maybe a year ago. Time flies. But I mean, look at Albania. You know, Trump's daughter and some other people were trying to essentially make a new island, right? A new Epstein's Island. Well, allegedly that's what it was going to be, right? But I mean, why why else would these really rich people want another island, right? But I mean, anyways, so they were going to make another island on like I think it was the east coast of Albania. I forget, but regardless, it was in Albania. They were trying to make another island, right? And the Albanian people protested in massive numbers, and so much so that the Albanian government had to say, "Okay, man, we will, suspend this project and not go forward with it." So things are constantly happening, right? You're just focusing on the negatives and the fact that people aren't responding to those negatives. I mean, if you want to use, the files as an example of why didn't we revolt? Why hasn't there been a revolution? Okay, well, why didn't the people back in the day when the American dollar was no longer backed by gold turn in their gold? Why didn't they revolt then? Right? That was a perfectly reasonable time to revolt. They were saying you couldn't own your own gold, right? Essentially, you just lost a lot of your family's wealth overnight, right? Because the dollar wasn't backed by gold anymore. Like, why didn't people revolt then? Again, it's because the people were angry. You better believe the people were angry at the time, but there was no organizers of the anger. There was no leaders in the movement to actually lead the revolution. I mean, look at the founding of our nation, right? America. The people, right? And they like to bring up the taxes. It wasn't just the taxes. It wasn't just the taxes on tea. It was a lot of other things. It's just that it's a very easy hook for it to be included in taxes because no one likes taxes. Um, Regardless, they weren't happy with the increased tax on tea, and what they do, they revolted. But a lot of people were angry at the fact that the tax was increasing, but they weren't going to do anything about it. They were just going to be angry until what? Until the founding fathers gathered them and led them to revolt against the king. So there always must be leaders, and if there's not leaders, at the very least there needs to be organizers of this anger, of this energy, to have any actual positive results. Otherwise, again, all that anger just gets scattered and nothing ever comes of it. So all that is to say, man, is never be a doomer. Never be one of these people that says nothing ever happens. If you want to say it in a rhetorical sense, in a funny sense, you really shouldn't even say it like that, because even if you're meaning it in a funny manner, in a rhetorical manner, someone may take it literally and they'll become a doomer. They'll be, the next person to have that mindset. And it's just not worth it, right? Let's take example like the black pill. The black pill is true, right? Like, looks matter 100%, right? Now, should you looks max? Yeah. Like people who try to make fun of looks maxers are ridiculous. Looks absolutely matter, right? Here's the thing though. Yeah, looks matter, but so do other things. And that's where the black pill gets it wrong, right? Like, is Stacy attracted to, the hottest guy? Yeah. But, if there's no substance, then that's all it is attraction. There's no actual relationship that's there. So it needs to be more. It needs to be more than just simply attraction. But, looks maxers have a thing right. You should be having good skincare. You should be taking care of yourself. You should be exercising. You should be optimizing your appearance as much as possible to get the prettiest woman you can get, and vice versa, right? As a woman, you should be maximizing your looks, everything as you can to get the best man. It's as simple as that, right? So I don't necessarily disagree with the concept. I very much agree with it, but people like to clown on it, right? But there's also, I guess, just for counteractive sakes, there's the white pill, right? There's hope that even if you are ugly, you can change it, right? If you are ugly, there are things you can do to increase your appearances. Like I said, right? That take aspects from the black pill, right? Like working out. If you're ugly and you're fat, just lose some weight and see where you end up after that, right? if you lose weight and build muscle, you could easily become more attractive. Yeah, so the white pill is just acknowledging that you can actually change your appearance. Even if you were born ugly, there's still hope for you to increase your overall attractiveness. So don't fall victim to this mindset of, like, there's not going to be change. There's no point in trying. That's my biggest contention with the black pill is if you don't have the perfect facial symmetry, right? If you aren't basically born with the looks, you should just give up because it's over, right? And it's like, no, man, with the white pill, you can increase your attractiveness, right? Will you ever be as attractive as someone who was naturally born with, like, a really good face, really good bone structure and everything else? Probably not. But that doesn't mean you can't increase your own attractiveness. So that would be like the white pill, right? Same thing with the doomer mindset. Are there things we should have revolted for or at least been more angry about? Sure, absolutely. I could agree with you there. But to then lose hope slash faith that we won't ever revolt or we won't ever do anything because of their actions is ridiculous, right? It all starts with simply moving forward, right? We didn't do anything for that event, but we must continue to try to do things moving forward, right? And by the way, I guess since I'm, you know, uh, trying to become emperor, if I did become emperor, right? Another thing I would do, basically day one. There's so much to do, man. There's so much to do, but day one is I'm getting the FBI to arrest any and all people who are mentioned in the files, right? They're going to be placed in, just temporary. Hey, man, you're not free to go. You're not free to go anywhere. We're just going to keep you locked up while we investigate you. Because it's ridiculous that these people are roaming free. No one in the files has been investigated slash arrested. Oh, but actually, that's not true. That's not true. There's been one person who was talking about the files that was arrested. It was a guy, I forget his name. Excuse me. So many things to remember. It's hard. But he was holding an Easter egg hunt, which was basically a bunch of people's names were in these eggs, and every day he was opening one up and then saying how they were involved, how they were implicated in the files, etc., etc. And now he's being essentially he's going to court for it. So he was arrested for talking about it, but no one who actually is according to the files allegedly doing these horrible things to people. None of them are being investigated. None of them are being arrested. None of them are gonna ever face the punishment system, the crime system, right? Like, none of that's ever gonna come about. So as emperor, yeah, I would arrest all of them, put them in temporary hold. None of them would be allowed to leave the country. None of them would be allowed to do anything, right? All their assets would be frozen. I'm telling you, bro, I would. Because what do you mean I'm gonna let you go? I'm not letting you go, right? So yeah, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that none of them have been investigated or arrested, right? Anyways, moving past the file, you should always be hopeful for tomorrow, right? Because without hope, there's no point in anything, right? Why work hard today when tomorrow is going to be worse, right? Oh man, I could work really hard today to build a future for tomorrow, but tomorrow's going to suck. So why build a future for my children or for tomorrow, right? Why work towards a better future if the future sucks anyways? Without hope, there's no reason to do anything, right? Why even do anything, right? Truly embrace the nothing ever happens and do nothing, right? If that's going to be truly how you think and you have no hope for the future, then truly embrace that mindset and watch how depressed you become. Because as humans, we want a better future. We want hope, right? Hope for better, hope for something greater. So for you to like be anti-hope and just be a doomer and live in the nothing's ever gonna change, nothing ever happens, There's no point in any of this. Blah blah. It's like, bro, why live like that? You know, you're choosing to live in a depressed mindset. Stop. You know, have some fucking hope. Inject yourself with some hope. And maybe these nothing ever happened chuds are gonna see this, and they're gonna, you know, install like me with the mask on, right? That's inhaling from copium, right? I'm just coping, right? But even if I am just coping, right? Like, oh, you're just coping. You know nothing's ever gonna change. Nothing's really ever gonna happen. So, at least I'm fucking happy. At least I'm able to smile and make it through my day, right? Without being like, oh man, why do I even get out of bed? Why do I even go to work? All this shit sucks. It's like I may be getting high on copium. That might be true. Who knows? Maybe there is no reason to be hopeful. But until the future is now, right? Until the future comes, and I see that all of it was for naught, I'm not gonna lose my hope, man. I'm going to keep inhaling copium, okay? Because I do hope for a better tomorrow, right? You know what? Like it's like the sun sets and the sun rises, right? Every day the sun comes up. Every day is an opportunity to try again. You know, don't lose hope, man. Just keep fucking going. It's that simple, really. So yeah. Moral of the story, moral of the video is never be a doomer. Things are happening. You know, you just have to live long enough to see them happen. Okay, or don't. You know, and continue to be in your mindset of nothing ever happened.